But being Milton Erickson, he knew this was a way. He knew he couldn't just leave him there. He lived a productive life until he snapped. Now he's here for 3 years. One day, he asked to get a transcript of all the things he said for 1 week. Of course, he sat down with that transcript, started to read it. And he noticed something. He noticed a pattern. Just like the mind, just like the computer, our brains are so powerful, we can decipher patterns. That's how powerful it is. And Milton saw a pattern. He pulled the guy into his office one day. The guy just says random words. He started talking for 30 minutes. Random words. Then Milton started talking for 30 minutes. Random words. And at the end, he said, "Hi, my name is Milton." Then the conversation kept on going. Where the salad guy kept on talking for 30 minutes again. And at the end, he said, "Hi, my name is Steve." And this kept going on for hours. For a few hours, he noticed if he made word salad, he could embed suggestions and commands at the end of it. And eventually, after some time, after a few weeks, this Steve guy, he walked home. He was able to have a full communication, a full conversation, and he popped out of the state he was in. Only because Milton didn't give up on him. Because Milton saw that hidden pattern inside of his voice, inside of his semantics. And he went around looking at schizophrenians. He saw the exact same thing. These people were asking for help. All of them were asking for help, but no one could decipher the code. What I'm trying to get here is, these are tools and abilities. Here, in this case, we're talking about hypnotic poetry, but you got to understand how you're going to make it so hypnotic. You can take a knife and spread it on butter. You can kill someone with that knife, depending who you are as a person. Milton took this newfound ability, this newfound knowledge. His secretary always had bad migraines, and she would turn the lights off, put a cold rag on her head, and do this for 30 minutes. One day, she had a migraine. She came into his office, and he started talking. And every so often, he made suggestions and commands to relax, to let the migraine go away, to feel complete, to let it out. Within 5-10 minutes, her migraine went away. Because the mind doesn't know what's real or not real until you make it real. And by embedding your suggestions and commands in the sentences, into the words you speak to people, they have to realize what you're saying and go into that process to understand what you're saying. Powerful. In this context, we're going to start to say this in poetry format. Besides embedded commands and suggestions, you have hot words. Words that have power, have beautiful meaning. There's hundreds and millions of hot words. Great place to find hot words. Watch the news. See what kind of words politicians use. A lot of good ones are baby, scandals, surprises, death, life. Words with meaning, with power. We talk about transwords. Besides transwords, there's more detailed personal transwords. Yeah, there's hundreds of millions of transwords. But there's only a few that actually have even more powerful meaning within that person, in that individual. If you notice, when you talk with someone, they'll use certain words over and over and over again. Those are their words. They own those words. So when you reverberify their exact words, it has 10 times more powerful meaning than just transwords alone. If I use the word mesmerize, I know what that means to me. I go through that process constantly. So mesmerizing. Makes me mesmerize. Oh, everything's mesmerizing. If you come up to me and you're like, I have something for you. It's very mesmerizing. That just takes me a step back. I go through my own process that I go through every day. Personal transfers. If you know your listener, if you know what kind of words they use, by all means, say the same words back to them. Show them. Feel them. And with this alone, it just makes that more powerful. Then ultimately, you have your soft words, your fill words. This is where ultimately your poetry comes into motion. This is where everything else, if you put down your effects, put down your tools, you still don't have a complete story. You don't have a complete theme, a complete exercise. You don't have a complete poem. So this is where poetry, hypnotic poetry, is so fantastic. Because everyone has their own different taste, their own different spice on it. Personally with me, when I do hypnotic poetry, I talk about the stars and the moons and all spiritual aspects. Someone can tell a story. Someone can talk about their past experience. Put this all together. Put this all together in a seamlessly themed story. If you already have experience in poetry, you already know how to make poems. You know what you want to talk about in your poems. So do it. And that's what you have to remember when it comes to semantics, the context of your poem. Embedded commands, hot words, fill words, and your trance words. Those are your tools. This is how you're going to semantically develop your poem. Now, you got to remember, I said there's two parts. Semantics and delivery. When you deliver this, it's not when you sit up here, oh, I'm going to tell you guys something. The stars in my heart shows the core sense of my love to you. It does. In a way, granted, in a way, there's a possibility for that. But of course, just like everything else, everything's a process. If you know the process, you know what to do. People ask me, Kevin, what's the most hypnotic thing you can do? I smile and I look in their eyes. That's it. Eye contact. The most powerful hypnotic thing I know. Eye contact. It's like looking to the person's soul. You're going to go into them to understand their psyche. Psycho. Soul. Psychology. Psycho, the word meaning soul. You're going to look into their psychology. And plus, if you look into the person's eyes, you're telling them you want a response. I can talk and talk. If I'm making eye contact, I'm waiting for a response. It's just like putting you on the spot. So if I'm telling you to feel love, to feel happiness, to smile, and I'm looking at you, I'm waiting for you to show a reaction. That encourages, it promotes a reaction. Ever see when people look in your eye and you're kind of like, oh my God, it's piercing me. Just like looking at someone, you have that effect. So when you talk, even any matter, hypnotic or not hypnotic, poetry, not poetry, looking in someone's eyes, you already have their attention. I'm always making points. Always. You just got to see them. Just by eye contact alone. When you deliver your message, your poetry, your poem, be there. Be there. It's engaging effect. People think, oh, poetry's dumb. I'm going to just say something. It's fun. Engage yourself. If you notice, I have a thing called Go First Principle. Of all the principles, This is the number one you need to know. Go first.